So we're going to do some more advanced hip openers on quite a blustery day in Westgate Gardens. Especially when you're going to do these more advanced poses, you do definitely want to take some time to open up and also center yourself, because you're going to want to be paying quite close attention to the sensations that your body is experiencing. Moving from Malasana into some gentle twists. This leg crossed variety will start to feel into the hip joints. Changing to the other side, squeezing that knee in before you come around. Once again, coming into Malasana or garland pose. It's going to be a fun one to play around in. You can come up into tippy toes like I'm doing here. You can also turn it into a twist variety. And this is just adding a bit of flexibility to your whole pelvic region as well. It can be tempting to roll straight down onto the mat, but go ahead and take some time allowing your whole lower back to roll down onto the mat, and then enjoying the sensation of rolling back up before coming all the way down. Now we're going to be doing some more targeted hip stretches. This is really important to keep all your muscles engaged here, that upper foot flexed, and then you have a lot of room to play around with how deep you want the stretch to be. So for instance, now with my left leg bent, I can press my left knee away from my body if I want to intensify the stretch, and I can actually ease it towards me if it's feeling like too much. But get used to the sensation of stretching into the glutes with tensed muscles. That's really going to prevent you from putting too much stress on the joints. Find your downward dog pose. Enjoy the restorative effects of this pose. It's going to be what we're going to come into after each iteration. Starting with Raja Kapotasana, which is also King Pigeon pose. You can see I felt a little bit of a twinge actually in my foot coming down in this, and did a little stretch out. Just like when we were lying on our back, you can do a lot of things to alter this pose and make it more or less intense. And stretching out the front of that hip that's just been condensed, contracted, moving the other leg forward. So right now I'm placing my foot, sort of a moderate distance. If you want to make it really intense, you're moving that left foot closer to the front of the mat, and less intense, just move it back. Similarly, you can stay upright, and when you come down, you can alter how much you're coming up and down, but always experience that lift up through the hips before you come down. That's going to give you that bit of engagement, reminding yourself that you are keeping your muscles tensed and using those to protect your hip joints, not just placing all your body's weight onto that hip joint, which can be easy to do in that pose. Once again, doing a twisted three-legged dog just to really open up that hip joint. Settling yourself, and now we're moving into lizard pose. Swapping your right foot and right hand. Again, taking your gaze up and then slowly coming down. don't need to actually come all the way onto your elbows. Staying on your hands is already going to give you an excellent stretch. But really pay attention to your right foot, press it into the ground and press that back knee into the ground. And that's going to be how you're going to find your lift. Swapping sides, dropping the back knee down, untucking the toes, and slowly coming into that side. Now I, if you'll notice, tend to come down on the arm that's with my bent leg, and that's because sometimes you can get a bit heavy on your opposite side. So coming down first on the near side is going to give you a little bit more even distribution. Really breathe here. Send your breath into that stretched hip. And then getting that strong grounding before you step back and find your downward dog once more. There's a fun variation of lizard pose that you can do afterwards. You can actually link it together, but I'm sort of doing each side equally. So first begins the same way as lizard posed. Utthita Prasasthana. But this time you're going to bring up your back leg and gently rotate. Find a nice space right in front of you, in this case with my right hand, before you go back. Often by playing around with different variations of the same pose, we actually learn more about the original pose. So, see, moving my hand in a little bit, testing where I am with my lizard at the moment, and then enjoying that lift. And you're going to find it so much easier to rotate when you're already lifted through your hips. Again, we're stretching them, but we're always lifting them and always keeping our core engaged. So some people don't like hip openers, in which case actually you're in a good position because you're not going to overstretch. If you have hyperflexible hips and find these super easy the first time you try them, I would say dial back your effort level to about 80%.